Welcome, everyone, to Nothing But Net Philippines. For those that are watching us on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. And everyone else watching wherever it may be, make sure to follow us on Instagram at espn.ph and at espn Asia. Now, let's get this thing going. We got a lot of NBA and PBA to discuss with the NBA playoffs nearing its start and the PBA playoffs currently unfolding. But to dive in a little bit further on the future in the NBA, joining us right now is a writer for ESPN, good buddy of all the different iterations of Nothing But Net, be it Nothing But Net Australia or now Nothing But Net Philippines, the one and only Kevin Pelton. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Kevin, we're going to go with the hard-hitting questions right out of the gate, okay? I need to know what is it like? What is a normal day of watching basketball like in the Pelton household?
I mean, I don't know that it's that different from a fan with League Pass or League Pass International in the Philippines. I do try to structure it so I can like catch a half of various different games so that, the idea is then you see like a full rotation and everything, but not an entire game so I can see kind of twice as many teams on a given night.
Yeah, that's exactly my question there, because it's like you have to watch all the different games. And this is not just as a writer. You are a basketball fan at heart. So I wanted to know, like, what does the beginning all the way until the end go? Do you have snacks there? What's the beverage? Is there a ritual that you have?
It's probably not as exciting as it seems. A lot of people ask about multiple screens, and I don't like focus well on multiple screens. So no, I just got the one TV set up. Maybe if there's a Seattle sporty event that I'm following, I'll have that streaming on my computer is the second option there. But it's somewhere in between kind of the locked in focus of someone who is sitting there taking notes on every single thing, and then kind of the casual. I'm just here hanging out, enjoying the game. Somewhere in between those two extremes, I would say.
I can feel the ADHD in me agree that I can only focus on one screen. That's all I can do at one time. But because of all the basketball that you do watch, you wrote an incredible article. I loved reading how you were able to break it down on espn.com .ph if you're watching in the Philippines, on 5 teams that have had incredible struggles in terms of what their aspirations were at the start of the season to kind of where we're at right now, where they were far from being achieved, and namely Minnesota, Miami, Phoenix, Philadelphia, and New Orleans. I guess the first question that I want to start out with is, who disappointed you the most out of the 5?
I mean, it's got to be either Philadelphia or Phoenix. Those are two teams. I think I may have picked both of them in the conference finals this year. I mean, Philadelphia, like the hype was obvious after adding Paul George to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and I feel like I'm probably a little less harsh on them because so much of it was just Joel Embiid was never healthy, was never the MVP caliber player that we had seen as recently as last season. So, that was a little less predictable, I think, than, Phoenix. We knew that there were a lot of flaws with this team, and my hope coming in, and we saw this during the preseason, was, Mike Budenholzer, his track record in Milwaukee was going to kind of optimize things offensively. They did, add at point guard, solve one of their weaknesses with Tyus Jones, and their stars just haven't been good enough this season. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant haven't played at quite the level we expected. Their issue at center was enormous, with Yusuf Nurkic really struggling this season before getting traded in a salary dump at the deadline. And all of it has added up to the most expensive team in the NBA is almost certainly not even going to make the play-in tournament.
As a Suns fan, it really breaks my heart to hear all this, but it is truth, and that's where we're at right now, where the Suns are, like you said, maybe already looking past the play-in and already looking at next season. And in your article, there was a lot of mention of teams maybe pursuing Kevin Durant, and with Shams reporting now that if the Suns don't make it into the playoffs, that KD is inevitably going to be traded out. When you look at the way that the league is set up right now, with the way that the tax brackets are and all of that, realistically, what is the best kind of package that the Suns can get from a 36-year-old Kevin Durant?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big variable here is whether Houston decides that Kevin Durant could be a guy for them and they really start to pursue him because that's a team that has a lot of draft picks, including the Sun Zone, a lot of young talent that they could offer in return, which is all maybe the reason why they wouldn't do it and would wait for someone like, does Giannis Antetokounmpo eventually get traded, Devin Booker in Phoenix, someone like that, and kind of save their draft capital for that sort of a move. If it's not Houston, then I think we're talking about one of these other teams in the group most likely making a move for Durant because, it's similar to Jimmy Butler. The Given his salary and his age, the inner circle championship contenders are probably not making that kind of trade. It's a team like Golden State that's trying to jump up into, kind of the second tier of contenders. So, Miami and Minnesota from this group, I mean, maybe it would be fascinating, but it would be a really bold change of direction. I mean, we've seen this before. Dallas, could they potentially try to pair him with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis? Those, I think, are the kind of teams we're talking about. And then it's a lot of, maybe salary relief for Phoenix, a handful of draft picks, but not the kind of package that we've seen even someone like Mikal Bridges, who they traded for Durant, get in recent times.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason, to say the least, for the Phoenix Suns. They're going to try and have to unload all of these different problems that they have on their lap right now. It kind of echoes the situation like you were talking about with the Philadelphia 76ers, who have a plethora of problems on their hands right now. Uh, to you, though, what is the most plausible of the problems that they can fix that could make the biggest impact for them?
For Philadelphia,
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be Joel Embiid's knee. If they can just get him back to what he was even in the 2024 playoffs against the Knicks, where, he was clearly still compromised coming back from a knee injury, wasn't even maybe at 100% conditioning. It's been a while since we've seen that. It wasn't the guy who was scoring a point per minute during the regular season, but he was still a difference maker and
Mhm.
someone who, the game swung dramatically in that series when Embiid was off the court. In this season, what we've seen is Embiid hasn't made that kind of difference for Philadelphia. That at times it seems like they've actually been worse with him because of the fact that they kind of have to reorient the offense to go through him, and then defensively he's really struggled to keep up. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that answer is. I'm not a doctor, but if there's something they can figure out to even get 85% of peak Joel Embiid, that's still a massive game changer for Philly next season.
Yeah, and Philly does have a chance of keeping a top six pick if things go their way, and that way they can build towards that. The Suns, they have pieces that they can move around. Both of them are kind of struggling right now. For Minnesota, this is a weird position for them. They are not good enough to be great, but they're not bad enough to tank or throw the rest of the season and rebuild. What are the tweaks that this team needs to do to kind of get back to the form that they were last year without having to pay the wages that they had when Karl Anthony Towns was there?
Exactly. I mean, that was sort of the issue that forced this breakup of that group that got to the conference finals last year. And, I think the Timberwolves saw it as we can also upgrade our depth by splitting up his salary into both Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, which was something that was important at the start of the season when Chris Finch really didn't trust their rookies. And, they had a very tight rotation and were kind of fortunate not to have any injuries. Now, over the last month, as they played without DiVincenzo and Randle, who are back now, we've seen those rookies step up. Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon Jr., to a lesser degree, Rob Dillingham, who I think is very important for them long term. And it's going to be interesting to see over this last month and a half of the regular season how they coalesce, bringing these players back into the mix with that young talent. I mean, Minnesota is maybe the most frustrated of this group from the standpoint of we've
Yeah.
seen them beat Oklahoma City twice in the past month, and then they follow that up with bad losses at home where remain stuck in the play-in tournament, mired around 500. So there's still time for the Timberwolves. They're the one team in this group that I think really could potentially win a playoff series this year and feel better about things. But as we're looking at tweaking it going forward, I think it's figuring out what to do with that Julius Randle spot. And the fact that they didn't miss him that much and the rookie stepped up in his absence to me suggests, whether it's trying to trade him this offseason, if he picks up his player option, or if he declines his player option, heads into free agency, maybe just letting him walk, going under the luxury tax, and then trying to find someone who's, a better shooter in that four spot, better complements Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards.
It's going to be interesting for Minnesota because, unlike Phoenix and Philadelphia, their seasons are practically done at this point. Like you said, Minnesota can still somehow turn this season around as they move forward for the remainder of the season. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We love to have you here once again. Is there anywhere that they need to check you out for all your articles and all the things that you have going on?
Yeah, obviously the espn.com NBA page, and I am on social media on Blue Sky at K Pelton.
Very good. Thank you so much, Kevin, and we'll see you next time, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Now let's move on to the PBA semifinals. And I'm gonna be a man here, and I'm gonna be the first to admit that I was wrong. I thought that Barangay Ginebra was gonna head into this semis as tired as dogs in this, but no, they brought out the dogs within them and have taken an incredible 3-0 series lead against the Northport Batang Pier, which leads me now to over guess what we're doing here right now once again. My question this week is, has a path to a Ginebra championship already been paved? Okay, I want to take a look at the 3 other teams that are in this semifinals right now and see if there's anyone around there that can actually challenge Ginebra for a championship. Let's start out with Northport. Ginebra is beating them by an average of 20.7 points per game. That is unreal. And more importantly, they're doing this well in game number 3. Justin Brownlee only had 30 minutes. Scotty Thompson only played for 22. And Japet Aguilar played 23 minutes. So the main stars are getting their rest. So I think Northport is going to go silently into the night. If not in the next game, 5 in a gentleman's sweep is how we're going to see it. Now on the other side of things, the semifinals where we have Rain or Shine taking on TNT Catropa, where Rain or Shine's offense in the 3rd game, well, it looked okay. But the problem is it's because it's in contrast with what TNT was putting out on the floor. Yes, Deon Thompson balled out in the second half of that game to really push Rain or Shine to that win. There, he did get some help as well along the way from Chongsun and Asisio and even other players on that offensive end. But man, TNT are reeling right now, especially after Jason Castro went down with his season-ending injury. Hopefully, it's nothing more than 1 more year, because we love to see Jason out there, and we are praying that he's back out as soon as possible. And it's putting so much more, I guess, weight on the shoulders of Rondae Hollis Jefferson at this point, who is also going through a fast of his own as he is observing Ramadan. So when I was watching that game 3, I was wondering, where was the movement? There was no offensive adjustment on TNT's part, and it was just literally give RHJ the ball and pray that the knee that he buckled with is not going to be as injured as we thought it was. And yet it was still not enough. There's not a person on this TNT team that is operating the offense, that is being the engine that runs this team moving forward on the offensive end to also take off the weight from RHJ's shoulders. So my question now is, now that TNT's offense is as stagnant as EDSA traffic during payday, who is the team that can stop Ginebra, whether it is in the semis or in the finals? Because will it be Northport, who are down 3-0? Will it be a hobbled TNT who are missing Jason Castro more than I miss Adobo? Or will it be Rain or Shine, who are down 1-2 in a series? I'm leaning towards no one is going to be able to do it, but it will be a fun series to watch for the remainder of the PBA playoffs. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Is there anyone left in the PBA playoffs that can stop Ginebra? Put it in the comments section, and we'd love to hear from you. If you guys are new around here and you enjoyed the show, make sure you like and subscribe to it on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at espn.ph, as well as ESPN Asia. And make sure to head on over to espn.ph for even more basketball content, whether it's from the NBA, from our friends like Kevin Pelton, or from the PBA with all of our great writers within the Philippines. My name is Aaron Atayde. I'm off next week because I did miss Adobo so much that I will be heading home, and I'll see you guys then. Until the next time, this has been Nothing But Net Philippines. You guys take care.